Morning.
Morning.
Uh, Give it about 5 minutes or so for people to join.
Yeah, I agree. Sounds good.
Just a quick heads up that I'm in two sessions in parallel this morning. Apologies, it's just a really popular time slot. But I'll do my best to listen to any prompts and yeah,
No
let me know
problem.
if there's anything. But I think everything should be set up so that you all can do everything that you need. Um,
Okay, perfect.
but again, if there's anything, I'll do my best to listen. Maybe throw something in the chat. It's easy to also just visually see.
Yep,
Thank you.
no problem. We're just still waiting, maybe 3 or 4 more minutes for a few more people to join. I think we'll wait maybe one more minute for a few more people to join, and then we'll get started. Okay. Actually, it looks like we've got a decent amount of people. So welcome. This is the StarlingX PTG. Just fix my title here. Whoops. Um, so as far as agenda and minute tracking, we'll use this Etherpad. I put the URL because you're welcome to kind of add any notes onto this Etherpad as far as minutes or anything like this as we go along. There is a Google folder set up for any slides or presentations that go on today. So encourage people, if they're presenting anything, to put them in this folder. As far as general links, this is the PTG event page and meeting links. You guys must have found the meeting links if you're here. I also put a link in just to, if you're new to StarlingX. So I only see one name I don't recognize, but if you're new to StarlingX, you can join our StarlingX Discuss mailing list. And I should have the link there. We have 2 time slots booked for our PTG this week. Although I didn't get any agenda items suggested when I kind of canvassed a couple of times on the StarlingX Discuss mailing list. So I have an agenda set for today, which is our typical agenda, just to go through the projects and their plans. And then at the end of today's session, we'll talk about whether we have any agenda items for tomorrow or not. For all you guys that are attending, I encourage you guys to add your name and email to the attendees list, just so that we have a track of who attended, and also if there's any questions that come up from the minutes of the PTG, we can follow up with the appropriate person. So as far as agenda, we'll review the overall agenda in a minute. I think most people here know. I see a couple of names I don't recognize here, but most people know that the basic kind of objectives of the StarlingX project within open infrastructure is to basically provide software so that the users can deploy and manage a private cloud. Now, typically, those users of StarlingX are not cloud providers. They typically have some other application, and they're really using StarlingX as a cloud-based platform to deploy their applications. Some of the key differentiating capabilities are that we StarlingX scale is very small and very big. We go anywhere from like a single server all the way up to like a traditional cloud with, you know, hundreds of workers for deploying either hundreds of workers for deploying containers. We do also, a key capability or differentiator for StarlingX is that we do provide a geographically distributed collection of clouds. We call it the distributed cloud functionality. And it basically consists of like a central system controller and like up to 1,000 subclouds, although even more. I think in the past release, we've increased that to, I think, close to 5,000 now. And so any of those subclouds is basically an autonomous cloud on its own, which can be anything from a single server to a traditional cloud. And the system control, the main differentiating factor of this is that the system controller provides, you know, automation and orchestration of managing the cloud infrastructures across all of the cloud infrastructures. Another key capability is that StarlingX actually supports a Kubernetes cloud as well as OpenStack, so we can host containers as well as VMs. And the other really important thing is just we do provide kind of a complete integrated, ready to deploy solution. Basically, you can, you know, download an ISO and deploy, and it comes up, you know, ready to deploy your containers or your VMs. As far as other details of what StarlingX does, and again, most of you guys are familiar with all this, but you know, what a big piece is installation of, you know, Kubernetes and OpenStack can be complicated. So we provide a lot of playbooks to make it as easy as possible, kind of, you know, using the keyword zero touch provisionable or zero touch install. So that includes host installation, like config and management of the physical servers, also the installation of the cloud services themselves, Kubernetes and OpenStack. And so, you know, that involves setting up the, you know, various networking backends or storage backends, that sort of thing. We also provide container registry services for the Kubernetes side of things. And then also on the Kubernetes side of things, we actually integrate in a number of open source, other open source containerized services. So we have, you know, Nginx for, you know, for load balancing and, you know, distribution of ingress traffic. We have Cert Manager for certificates, Harbor for container registry, Istio for traffic management, KubeVirt, which is an alternative VM solution, security profiles operator, metric server, DexIDP provides OIDC type logins, and Vault for secure storage. So those are all open source projects. We also we use Cert Manager for certificate management of the StarlingX certificates because there's tons across the, you know, the platform as well as some of these open source containerized services. We have a fault management engine that, you know, tracks, you know, your typical alarms and logs that need to be visible by the end user. And then we have a big software management component in StarlingX for managing, you know, patches for bug and CVE type fixes, and then major releases, you know, being able to upgrade between major releases. So that's like the quick 5-minute overview of StarlingX. There is some additional material. I won't go through it, but there's this link that you can follow, and it's got a decent overview of StarlingX, as well as it's got like StarlingX from a technical point of view, and then it does have some details about, I think way down at the bottom, I think it has some details about the community and how to get involved. And yeah, so the community and how to get involved in either using StarlingX or contributing to StarlingX. So encourage you to look through that, especially if you're new to StarlingX. Okay. Any questions on any of that? think most of the people here are familiar with StarlingX. I think there's a few new people. Okay. The only other thing, and don't want to put anybody on the spot, but just if there's any new guest attendees to StarlingX, if you're new to StarlingX or anything like that, we
Here.
oh, excuse me. Sorry, I didn't hear that. Okay, sorry. But if there's anybody new to StarlingX, we're always interested in hearing, what are people's interest in StarlingX? What are you interested in using it for? That sort of thing.
Yeah, I'm kind of sick.
Corey, is
Did your sister drop him off?
hey Corey, we can't hear you.
What are you doing, buddy?
If you're actually talking to somebody else, maybe you go on mute.
Monster trucks? You want to have some breakfast? Okay, be careful. It's a good trip.
Okay. I think he's talking to somebody else. I can't put him on mute. Okay, I don't know, is there anybody else that's new to StarlingX that wanted to introduce themselves and introduce what their interest in StarlingX is? Again, don't mean to put anybody on the spot. You can feel free to just be a fly on the wall and listen as well. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, so I wanted to go over the agenda. Now I did make a note up here that I forget who mentioned it to me, but somebody mentioned that there's a few Ottawa people that have a meeting or lunch or something at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time, which is approximately 2 hours from now. So we may lose critical mass in an hour and a half or so, but I've intentionally only really put one big item on the agenda, and it's our normal agenda item. The other thing I didn't mention about StarlingX is it's a big project, and we have split the project into kind of sub-projects. We call them projects, but they're really sub-projects. And there's 11 or 12 of them. And our normal PTG agenda item is that we basically just run through all the projects, and we have either the TL or the technical lead or the project lead for the project just give like a 5 or 10 minute update on what happened in maybe overview of your team, who the cores are on your team at least, and then just a review of what's happened in the last release. We're almost about to release R10, so any accomplishments or key features that your project did in R10 would be interesting to hear about. And then also interesting to hear about would be proposals for what your project would work on in the upcoming release R11. And again, slides are optional. If you have them, please put them in the Google folder up here. But slides are optional. If you haven't created anything, even just talk for 5 minutes about these 3 items would be interesting and allow anybody to ask questions. So that's really the only agenda item we have on for today. We'll walk through the different project teams and just get an update from them. I had them. Oh, I see Linda put herself at the end. I had them in kind of top or bottom up from OS and up, but I guess Linda wants to go at the end, so that's fine. But we'll go through those, and then after that, like I suspect that we're going to maybe lose critical mass. But the only other agenda item was to to discuss, is there other agenda items we want to talk about tomorrow? If we can't, if there's nothing we need to discuss, then we'll cancel the meeting tomorrow, but we'll have a brainstorm on if there's any other agenda items. Any questions on the agenda? Comments?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Okay, so why don't we get started on the project team updates? I guess first up is Jim and the flock services. Jim, did you have stuff that you wanted to present? Because I can let you share.
No, yeah, I didn't have anything. I'll just I'll kind of give a verbal update. Nothing.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, the content really hasn't changed significantly since we've been working on StarlingX 10 pretty much over the since the spring. So the big feature that we're delivering in StarlingX 10 is around upgrade and patching, and there's an upgrade framework that we've been building. And the goal there, of course, is to make those upgrades quicker, more seamless. And I know in the community, upgrade and patching is probably one of the areas that's probably not as significant and not as impactful to community members. But it is something that we've found that, we wanted to put some investment in to try and improve. And part of that was, you think upgrade and patching and you think that's pretty straightforward. We had some legacy code in place that, organically things had kind of grown in different directions. So the big goal there was to consolidate that, optimize it, and try and improve as much as possible the time to do that. So that was a huge chunk of work we did. We did some minor work in conjunction with the distributed cloud team on ORAN update. So updating images, some minor work around that, and that's so that was a small piece of work that showed up there. There's a lot of minor stuff done in the background. Some stuff around the SM services, and we'd seen some scheduling issues that had come in from the field, and in some of those we were working to make some improvements in that area. So I think we have. So those are, that's a problem with flock services. It's not the most beautiful and visible type of thing. The goal there is to make sure we've got that, continue to have that high availability and monitoring type thing. So those are, kind of some of the things, not, like I said, not incredibly beautiful. There's more improvements as we get into next year and work towards StarlingX 11 that we're going to be working on around the area of upgrade. We're also looking at, the normal kind of keeping the lights on and updating some of our third-party components along the way. We're trying to on the back end also have some of the team work on some automation so that we've got better testing in place for, as developers merge their code and get that code to help work with Rob Cook's team who make sure that the testing of StarlingX is solid, and that what the community picks up is something that's it's reliable. So those are kind of the areas we're working on. So it's a lot, like I said, a lot of background type of stuff, but important to make sure we've got high availability. And we're always looking to see how, and working closely with Greg on how do we evolve StarlingX in the area of flock services, and working with Greg. I don't know if there's any specifics you think are worth sharing there that are kind of making their way off the drawing board, but that's it's kind of the what we've done and the direction we're going, which, like I said, it doesn't sound glamorous, but it's all about making sure that we've got that, continue to have that high availability, reliability, and ease of upgrade for the community and for commercial side as well.
Yeah, I agree. Like the upgrading and patching framework piece were big pieces of your work in R10, and there may be a few um minor enhancements, bug fixes, just leftover stuff that we need to do in R11 related to that. We'll kind of see how schedules permit. But yeah, I think you covered it well.
May I ask?
Any questions?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so what I'm hearing is for STX 11 is when automation is for testing is going to begin, or is there any work on that done for 10 to be able to check if something's pass failed on the testing side before upgrading? And how frequently is that upgrade? Is it weekly? Is it daily? Like, does it check for upgrades? Like,
So I'll let Rob, I think Rob, you guys are championing the automation side of the house, so I'll let you speak to that. When you say, is it upgrading daily? Is it upgrading weekly? Sorry, in
Like,
what context do you,
if
yeah.
if it passes all the tests, does it upgrade? Like, does it check for upgrade? How often does it check? Does it check daily for upgrade? Does it check in real time, like minute by minute? Like, what's the latency on
Yeah.
those upgrades?
Yeah, I can maybe answer that. Is that in StarlingX we really release on like a 6-month schedule, so we're not doing releases any quicker than that. So so really the upgrades are scheduled through our release process, and the automation testing that happened, I think that the Jim was really referring to was automation testing in order to ensure that our nightly builds are not breaking things, basically, so that the master branch is you know not broken for developer contributors to StarlingX to continue to work towards the next release type work.
Mm-hmm. For example, like that OpenStack being failing the test for some time, it would still, as you're saying, in 11, it wouldn't there would be some workable version of OpenStack, or are you referring just as the starting X piece?
No, even the OpenStack. Well, OpenStack is within StarlingX, right? So if there, I mean, I understand what you mean. Is that, yeah, I know in the past couple of weeks in the community meetings there has been some OpenStack work within OpenStack functionality within StarlingX that has been broken, and there's been a bug fix that's been working on, and so yeah, so that has been discussed in the community meetings, and we're kind of actively working on it. But yeah, the automation testing, I think, is and maybe Rob can talk the automation testing a little more. But the automation testing is really being used for identifying even functionality that's broken, that's not in obviously as obvious to current users as it doesn't even work or doesn't even install or anything like that. And then also automation testing, I think, is used substantially when we're about to release and we want to do full regression and that sort of thing.
That I can add to that, Greg. Absolutely. So you hit it bang on there at the end. So our automation testing throughout the release cycle is primarily a weekly sanity execution on both the platform side and the OpenStack side. So that's where you were seeing some of the results where OpenStack was failing and the team was digging into those bugs. So that's a sort of a weekly sanity cycle. And then as we get closer to the release date, we do get into more regression type automation that we execute so the sanity is, basic in terms of does the application there, does the software install, do basic functionalities work? And then as we get near the end of the release, we get into a little bit more detailed regression that we execute through automation as well. So those suites are a little bit more intensive than the regular sanity suite. But that's done, just a couple of iterations of that are done near the end of the release cycle.
So what I'm hearing is release when it hits release candidate, it's nightly. Before release candidate, it's weekly, and that's not changing between 10 and 11.
At this point, there's no plans to change that.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thanks, Jim. Containers, I'm looking, I think Bruce is on vacation and Chris is not online right now, so let me move him to the bottom and we'll see if he's available later. So next is networking with, I think I saw Steve here.
Yeah, I can go.
Do you have slides to share?
I do, yeah. So I'll just share that.
I
I think anybody can share, Greg, with this.
Oh, really? Anybody can share?
As long as
Okay.
you stop, I think Steve can share.
Okay.
Okay. All right, I just brought up my web browser. This stuff is on the SharePoint, so anyone can go and have a look at it. So what I'm going to talk about is just like I'm the PL and TL for the networking sub team of StarlingX, and I'm just going to talk about kind of some of our accomplishments since the last PTG, as well as some of the stuff that we're kind of in discussions about planning. So I guess the main themes here is that we had one kind of mega feature, which was the IPv4, IPv6 dual stack networking feature, and then the rest of the stuff I'm going to talk about is mostly about maintenance and enhancements to the stuff that the networking team has already done in StarlingX. So the IPv4, IPv6 dual stack networking feature, this was actually like a major undertaking in terms of our architecture and our code, because we always kind of had the assumption that somebody bootstraps the system with either IPv4 or IPv6, and that never changed. So what we've actually done is we've enabled the system to be bootstrapped with a dual stack system, IPv4, IPv6. So some platform services that talk to each other will kind of it depends on how you've constructed your bootstrap file, but it will use kind of the primary address, whether that's IPv4 or IPv6, to still talk to each other, but it allows other kind of external systems and everything in Kubernetes as well to be IPv4 and IPv6 capable. So yeah, this had changes kind of throughout the system. We were able to get this merged and tested, so this is pretty much good to go at this point. Moving on, so platform network reconfig. This is kind of like not similar, but it's in the same thought of if I've already deployed a system and I want to reconfigure that network to have like a different subnet or whatever, this is the feature that allows that for the management network. And like this was a feature in StarlingX 9.0, but I'm just highlighting this because the testing kind of continued into StarlingX 10. And so I just wanted to highlight that because like there's a lot of work that goes into product verification and bug fixing and stuff like that. moving on, so the quick assist or the GPU device plug and refresh. So we actually had this like back in early StarlingX days, but there were separate kind of applications, and then Intel kind of integrated them into this into a single repo that we then, like the Helm charts and stuff, we took and integrated them into a StarlingX application that you can just launch. So this was just a refresh on those guys, and so again, it was just an activity to integrate that stuff, create the StarlingX application framework that we expect, and then doing all the product verification. The Intel FEC, the forward error correction operator plugin refresh. So this is exactly the same thing as I just stated. And this was done by some engineers from Intel.
I think just a quick question here, Steve. I think this is supposed to be 10.0 as well, correct? Like, is it
Oh,
just a
no,
typo?
this is a typo. Thank you, Gata.
Okay, all right, thanks.
I think if I save this, it will actually save it in the SharePoint, right?
I believe so. I think it saves automatically, actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I don't see a save thing. Thank you. And then this is like kind of a continual thing that you'll hear from the networking team in all the PTGs, but we try to keep to the latest and greatest of all the container network interface images and plugins. So this is like Calico, this is Multus, this is all the plugins that you use. Like if you want to have an SROV interface in your container, this is just ongoing maintenance that we try to keep the latest and greatest. And again, it's development work to upgrade those images, and then it's also product verification to make sure that they're still working okay. Okay, so next is the P2P notification application. So we did some maintenance on the application that already existed, but we added some functionality. And this is going to be like you'll see later, but it's going to be an ongoing thing for P2P. And I'm just mentioning this, like this is maintenance, and it's updating the Istio application. The node interface metrics exporter, this was something that was started in StarlingX 9, but I'm just mentioning it here because there was some bug fixes and images updating just for CV updates and stuff like that. So going forward, I guess the upcoming stuff that we've done is like you'll just see it as a theme, and in the network theme is like we have a lot of the networking stuff, the images and applications that I've just covered is like their latest and greatest, and they're changing pretty frequently. So we're going to be keeping up with those latest updates. And I think a big theme for STX 11, from what I hear, is just we've got quite a few PTP enhancements that we're going to make. The last item on the list here is admin network address reduction. So the admin network is used in a distributed cloud system between the system controller and the subclouds, and it really only needs 2 addresses from a subnet to, like, if your subcloud is in a duplex system, so 2 2 nodes. You just need 2 addresses. And right now we're restricted to being like, if you say this subcloud is this subnet, then you kind of use up a lot of addresses in that subnet that are never going to be used. So this is an effort to reduce that so you can use kind of the same subnet on multiple subclouds, just to reduce IP address usage. So I think that's all I had. If anyone has any questions.
Any questions for Steve? The networking team? Okay, thanks, Steve.
Okay, thanks, Greg. I will stop sharing.
All right. And let's go back to sharing here. I think next up we have Gada, actually. I think you have slides, right, Gada?
I do have slides, Greg. Do you want me to share?
Yeah, I'll stop sharing.
Okay. Did you guys just see like the list here? I'm just gonna open. Okay, super. Just gonna open the security slides, and I apologize if there's just a bit of background noise here. All right, so I am the PL for the security subproject team for StarlingX. Similar to Steve, I'm just going to be sharing what are some of the highlights we have since we last met and what we're looking at moving forward. But before I go there, I just want to have this initial slide. It includes sort of our team focus, our contributors. So just a small change from our last PTG. Our technical lead is now Mitch Thibault. He is the TL for the security subproject team as of just this last elections earlier in this month. So he does participate in our biweekly meetings. And he is also a developer that has worked on a number of security-oriented hardening capabilities for StarlingX. I won't go through all the contributors here, but for the most part, the team has been kind of stable. There are just a couple of new team members that are joining us from located in Brazil, and that's Eduardo and Rodrigo. And there were a couple of people that have also left since April. Our meetings are biweekly on Mondays at 9:30 Eastern, and it is by invite only. So if anybody has a specific interest in security, they can reach out to me, and we can add them to our like basically meeting invites. All right, I'll just highlight at a high level our security-oriented features that were completed for STX 10.0. So biggest feature, or a couple of features, are the first two, which is the enabling of IPsec on the layer 2 platform networks, and that's basically to encrypt the traffic between multi-node systems on the management network. Previously was unencrypted, and this feature allows for the configuration of strong swan and ensuring the encryption of that traffic between the nodes. We had presented in the last PTG a bit of more details on the design of this feature, so I didn't include it again today, but if it's required, if you guys can refer back to the April PTG, you can get some more details on this feature there. We've also implemented the use of Cert Manager by default for managing the platform certificates. So before that was an optional process that a user can choose to configure or not. Now it is on by default. So those are the two bigger features. In addition, we've done some enhancements to the system certificate CLIs, just in terms of displays and filtering and such. We've enhanced the password rules, so they're a bit more rigorous. Each of these storyboards would also have some more details on the feature and all the code associated with it. So, of course, if there is any specific interest in any of them, you can get that information that way. We've also done some testing with nconfig for DTLS. Other than that, basically majority of the effort went to kind of, again, similar to the networking team, to stay current, updating to the latest versions of various open source containerized applications, to pick up, remain current, pick up CVE fixes, and also be compatible with the newer versions of Kubernetes that are supported in SDX 10. So there's quite a list here. These are all open source, the Vault, Proteris, OIDC, Ingress Nginx, Cert Manager, security profiles, operators. So all these have been basically updated at least once, and in some cases we did two updates within the time frame for SDX 10. So that is kind of a summary of the features and accomplishments we've worked on for SDX 10. Before I go to our upcoming features, are there any questions on this list that I can help answer? Or maybe Greg can also answer if there are a bit more technical questions. Okay. All right. Well, with that, I'm going to go to our list of candidates for SDX 11. Again, I mean, we're still going to be working on refinement and understanding which of these items can actually fit, but those are basically the higher level items that we're looking at. So again, application maintenance, so we'll try to continue doing that. And with the focus on just also being compatible with Kubernetes 1.30 or plus. So at this point, I don't know exactly what the versions of Kubernetes that are targeted for 11 will be, but you know, we'll just make sure that we align the applications so that they're compatible. Also looking to extend the use of IPsec on the pod-to-pod cluster network traffic. So sort of a phase 2 of the IPsec feature. Looking at some user management enhancements. So there are kind of 3 items in that category, which is deletion restriction, which means basically preventing certain users from being able to perform configurations that would result in deleting key data. In the same venue, we're going to add operation confirmation prompts for some, again, sensitive system commands. And we're going to look at some new default access control user roles that we can define in Keystone. So basically, users or operators can assign users to these roles and be able to control what they can do on a StarlingX deployment. We're going to be looking at MTLS support for certain network services. Also looking at miscellaneous changes to improve CIS benchmark scores for the host and container environments of StarlingX. This goes more around, you know, file permissions, access controls, that sort of thing for various configurations on the system. So, Greg, I don't know if you want to add maybe a bit more to this here, a bit more color on kind of the goals of the CIS benchmark and such.
Yeah, I mean, this a lot of our users just as standard check on systems that they're using, run CIS benchmarks on, and there's CIS benchmarks for, the different Linux distributions. So they obviously run the Debian one on us. And then there's also a version of CIS benchmark for the Kubernetes stuff. And it's like you said, it's more around, is the environment configured securely? And there's a number of spots where we're not configured as securely as possible. So we're going to, clean that up as part of this work.
And finally, we're going to be looking at OpenBow as an integration alternative, as a replacement for HashiCorp Vault. Some of you guys will maybe remember from a few months before we had a discussion that HashiCorp Vault, the newer versions, are no longer available under open source, an open source license, and therefore really they would not be appropriate for StarlingX integration. So right now we are at the last open source version of Vault, but we will be looking at going to OpenBow, which is actually a Vault fork that will be maintained as open source. So we're going to look at what is involved in integrating that project instead. Next, one of the mandates of the security team as well is to run CVE scanning. There are really no changes here since the last PTG. We have a monthly scan on the host packages, and fixes go on the main branch there. We're not, we've had some discussions about container CVE scanning, but currently that is not, it's more done ad hoc or sort of as implicitly by each like owners of the applications, keeping them current and picking up the latest versions, but we're not doing any explicit CVE scanning on containers, just simply don't have the resourcing to be able to do that. So that's it for security. Maybe I'll pause here for a couple of minutes if there are any questions for me or for Greg.
I was just going to add a comment, Gata, just on the secure pod-to-pod stuff.
Sure, yes, please.
Pardon me?
Yes, please do.
I was just going to add a comment about, it's going to be a little different than what you've done in R10, where the IPsec over management there was no end user configurability around the IPsec over management, right? That we were just, in theory, IPsec protecting all of the traffic on the management network, although I know for performance reasons there's some pieces that aren't security sensitive that we aren't securing. But in the pod-to-pod network, and the details are TBD because we are just kind of starting the design of this, but I suspect that there is going to be end user configuration around this. Like, it's not all pod-to-pod traffic. It'll be that there'll be some configuration for a particular pod to indicate that all its pod-to-pod traffic or some portion of its pod-to-pod traffic needs to be IPsec protected. So
yeah, that makes sense. Thanks, Greg.
I've got another question. So when work is being done on STX 11 on security, how often is those kind of efforts applied to 10 as well, when that time comes?
yeah,
Sorry,
sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead, Greg.
I was just going to say that currently in StarlingX we don't do patchbacks to older releases. So we would not do a patchback for any of the security work in STX 11. The assumption is that the user of StarlingX will needs to upgrade to STX 11 to pick up those security fixes.
Is that security subproject specific, or is that across all subprojects?
That's really across all sub-projects in StarlingX.
Okay. Is that up for discussion? Or no, I guess there's not enough resources.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that because there is another, it's not an official sub-project of StarlingX, but there's an activity going on led by Scott Camp, who is a member of the TSC in StarlingX. And there is an activity going on there to, to better support both upgrades and patching in StarlingX. And I think one of the topics that he has on his agenda is to look at whether StarlingX should be providing patches for the community. So it's on his agenda, but I don't know if Scott's here today to talk about that. But that would be, if you're interested in that, it would be Scott Camp that would be the guy to talk to.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions for Gavin? Okay, thanks, Gavin.
Thanks.
Next up, actually, if you can stop sharing, Gavin.
I thought I did.
Oh, okay.
Did I not?
I still see your screen.
Sorry. Okay. Let me see what I can do here. Maybe you can take it over, Greg.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Did that work?
That worked.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, that looks
Okay.
good, Greg.
Okay. Next up, actually, we got Thalas. I think I saw Thalas here.
Yep, I'm here. Okay,
Perfect.
let me share. I've put together a couple of slides, but
Okay, let me stop sharing for you.
shouldn't take too long. I mean, for those who are not familiar with the OpenStack distribution for StarlingX, so this is a project in which we bring on top of StarlingX virtualization functionalities, basically by deploying OpenStack services as a containerized application. And there have been ups and downs on the volume of contributions for this sub-project along the time. People were focusing on other projects and topics of StarlingX. So there was a time in which we were more like in maintenance working mode, but it has changed recently, the last months. There are newcomers coming from Brazil, from Peru, and from Canada as well, both on the development and the testing fronts. So yeah, I mean, I'm currently the project lead and technical lead, but we can see the number of names, of contributor names with code changes merged growing every day on the main apps, on the main repositories of this application, but also the testing team, or at least the number of people that know how to test it and can handle the automated pipelines is growing as well. So that's good news. And yeah, I mean, there wasn't lots of work on the OpenStack application front for this release, but you'll see in the next slide that there are lots of possible features for the future release. So one thing that we had to do was this QEMU version. Actually, this was a shared work between the OpenStack and the Kata containers team, because they required this newest version of QEMU for some features that they needed to support. And we also use the same hypervisor on the host, so we had to align our QEMU with the PDK support for our virtual machines. But more than that, when we uprevved this QEMU version, it introduced some incompatibilities between the libvirt version that only OpenStack use, and it runs inside a container of ours. But to fix those, we could not simply upversion libvirt, because if we want to upversion libvirt, we discovered that there are some dependencies, especially on the build dependencies, for some, how can I say, some system packages, and it would be very risky for us to upversion those library versions, because those are shared dependencies between, not only between the OpenStack Docker image, but the system itself. So what we have done, we found the code fixes for the incompatibilities on the master branch of libvirt, and we cherry-picked those on top of the libvirt package that we built. So that was the main work on this front. But also we did some TLS related enhancements. Started because we were following up with the StarlingX platform changes on the CLIs for managing certificates. But then we realized that we could even decouple that, and we did this work. We decoupled the way a user can install and configure certificates for OpenStack. So the default behavior is still by using the StarlingX CLIs, but now user also has the option of uploading his own certificates to a given directory and mapping that through Helm overrides. So OpenStack will find that certificate and will configure its services to use that certificate. Docs were updated and provided. I think all the documentation updates are merged already. And last but not least, the team started exploring OpenStack deployments on subclouds using this distributed cloud deployment type of StarlingX. So a couple of bug fixes were found and fixed. Some doc updates were done, and there's lots of that still in our roadmap for the future to fully support subclouds and distributed cloud deployments with the OpenStack application on top of that. For StarlingX 10, we still will be releasing the Antelope OpenStack services. It's 23.1, but this will be up version the next StarlingX release. So before I move to the next slide, I don't know if there's any questions on this work done for StarlingX 10. If not, there is a brainstorm here of what we'll be doing in the future. So one of the first goals of our team is to uprev again the OpenStack release version. Now we'll go to Caracal, it's 24.1. And that's because we decided internally that we'll be following up OpenStack's LERP release, which are releases that are ensured by the community that they can be upgraded between themselves without many issues or risks. So yeah, we'll be probably the experience we had with Antelope up version will make our life easier this time, and the build system is already splitted, so we should be doing that for StarlingX 11. Another thing we plan to do is to develop this upgrade in like this live upgrade when you have your OpenStack application already applied and you want to upgrade only the OpenStack services to the next LERP release. So a non-disruptive version that is planned for StarlingX 11. We also plan to reestablish support for OVS DPDK and maybe even containerize it as well, removing this service and packages from the StarlingX platform. We would like to reestablish OpenStack telemetry. There was support for that in the past, but it has been disabled for a while, so we would like to revisit that and enable, I don't know, at least Ceilometer, Noki, and the A alarming service for OpenStack. And finally, we also would like to start exploring options for our external storage backend. So StarlingX already supports a couple of options, and currently our OpenStack app relies on Ceph only. So we would like to start exploring the other options that StarlingX already provides as a platform for our app. We probably will start with NetApp and see how we can make it an alternative driver for Cinder, Glance, and Nova. So yeah, that is what is in our roadmap now. And since the number of contributors is growing every day, I think it might be feasible to achieve the majority of that in the next release. And that's it from me.
Any questions for Thalos? The OpenStack stuff? Yeah, I'd just like to say that, yeah, it's good to see our OpenStack support ramping up again, because like you said, it's been in sort of a maintenance mode for last couple of releases. So those are some good items to add. All right, if there's no more questions for Thalos, let me just next is, I think I saw Michelle here. Michelle,
Yes.
did you?
Yeah, I have a quick slide that I can present.
Excellent. Let me stop sharing.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, you see what I'm sharing?
Yeah.
All right, so just be quick. So yeah, my name is Michel Desjardins. I'm PL for the distributed cloud sub-project. And really just a quick intro on the distributed cloud team. Yeah, I'm the PL. Tian Go has been a member of this team for a while, and she is the TL technical lead. And we have about 20 developers, both in 20 engineers, I should say, both in development and QA, working and contributing to the distributed cloud. We have folks based in, Ottawa, in Canada, and also in Brazil. Also a few folks in India, so a fairly diverse team contributing. So a pretty stable team in the sense that, people are, gaining a lot of expertise into more and more complex features in the distributed cloud. So just sharing quickly our charter, we're really responsible for the management and orchestration of distributed networks of X clouds in edge computing. So that's our responsibility. We worked in zero touch provisioning, day 2 subclouds reconfig, orchestration, subcloud patching, backup and restore, pre-stage upgrades. A lot of it is about upgrades these days, as Jim has mentioned. For the Flock team, we're heavily involved in the DC team and in the upgrade USM work. We've done some subcloud rehoming and geo redundancy, and now we're getting really we're pushing the envelope to increase our scalability. So that's a bit of a focus for this release and next. So you'll see in the list of features. So quite a bit of accomplishments for this SDX 10 release. Yeah, the first 2 features really are about the unified software management and especially the DC adaptation to it. So all these features are mainly code complete. We are, as the plan would state, we're completing our verification, and we should be in good shape for the release of SDX 10. So yeah, so involved in USM, always have to add some new capabilities to support the I'll just highlight the subcloud install and restore from previously released to and then the next three are really are sort of really new content. One is the first one is really the subcloud, the standalone system subcloud enrollment feature. Yeah, this feature is really to facilitate factory pre-installation. We want to allow standalone system to be installed locally in the factory and then later deployed, right? So we want to allow a pre-installation and then a later deployment, you know, when required on site. So we have to restructure the code to support that, and it makes, you know, the whole deployment experience much easier. So that's the enrollment feature. We've started, as mentioned, our big endeavor in improving our scalability. Right now, we support, you know, 1,000 subcloud, and the goal is really to reach 10,000 subcloud when we're all said and done. So the phase one is really about going halfway and allowing, you know, support of 5,000 subclouds and also support parallel operations. We want to increase the number of parallel operations. You can do 2,500 parallel operations in the scalability. So we had to redesign and rework a lot of the audit framework features to allow, you know, scalability to reach those point of 5,000 subclouds. So that's scalability. We're starting to get involved in the ORAN. There is a team that we're been collaborating with on the ORAN side, and we're integrating the ORAN application in StarlingX, and that includes, you know, some of the specific interfaces and specifications that come out of that, the IMS and DMS interface. So then the ORAN 02 application is officially supported as part of StarlingX. So that's kind of in general the summary of our accomplishments for STX10. For XTX11, still in the works and the plan. So I'll mention a couple of ones that we're investigating, at least to start with, to start working on during the STX11 timeframe. We had started to work a little bit in STX10 on doing some real-time optimization for subcloud deployment, and especially in the bootstrap area. So we want to continue that during STX11. And as I mentioned, the other, you know, big item that we want to, you know, continue is the scalability, right? In STX10, which we are completing now, we said we will support 5,000 subcloud. We want to double that in phase 2 for STX11. So that's in the works and under plan, and we'll see how it goes. But that's the idea. The current idea is that, right? We have an investigation that we want to start, you know, during STX11 to see if this feature is a portable distributed cloud function. It's really about separating the DC services from and make it more application containerized and a bit separate, so it's more portable to be deployed as a separate application outside of this infrastructure. So we're trying to investigate that, and it's quite a bit of a large piece of work, so not clear as it's going to fit. But there's a lot of discussions about that. That's our summary for today. I've been trying to just a quick announcement. I haven't revived yet our biweekly meeting. I still need to discuss with Jim on how we're going to do that. So stay tuned. We will probably re-kick that meeting and discussion to have a regular meeting, because it used to be Flock Services and DC were in the same managed by the same person in the past, and it has a lot of interdependency and dynamics, so we're probably going to kickstart that discussion and meeting, regular meeting in the future. So anyways, that's the quick overview of STX 10 and 11 for distributed cloud. So any questions?
I had a small question, Michelle, just on your last slide around the portable distributed cloud. I think the idea there, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think the idea there is that we could, in theory, run the system controller type software related to distributed cloud on like a public cloud.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
correct. It's really a prerequisite to go into public hybrid cloud configuration. Yes.
Right. Because that would be really cool, because then running on a public cloud, you have much more CPU and memory power than users having to buy their own hardware for the system controller. So
Yeah, and that's also in the same vein of the feature above. It would allow even improvements on scalability and how you distribute the DC services across,
right.
and make it easier for a central system controller to manage. Yeah. So it has a great advantages. It's just complex to take on, but once it's implemented and available, it has great advantages for scalability and distribution of DC. Yeah.
Any other questions for Michelle? Okay, thanks, Michelle.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't think Scott Camp is here. I'll move him to the bottom. I think Rob is here, and I think you have some slides, right, Rob?
I do, absolutely.
Okay, let me stop sharing. Okay.
Yeah, I threw together a couple of high-level things on the test side of things. You guys can see my screen?
Yep.
All right, perfect. So just some high-level stats around 10.0. So, in terms of our sanity, we talked a little bit about this earlier, but I'll just reiterate it. We continue to execute platform and StarlingX OpenStack sanity once a week. The executions on SX configurations and DX configurations. For the features in 10.0, we've completed a number of features. There's still a few outstanding, a couple that are just some stragglers that we're finishing up, but we've tested 45 of them to date. Over 1,600 manual test cases executed. Our pass rate is still a bit low. You'll see there. I kind of bolded this so far because there is still bug work happening. There's fixes going in, so we expect those rates to go up. Just to provide a comparable there for in STX 9.0 from a feature test perspective, we had a 97% pass rate. So we're targeting the same sort of range as we clean up some of the outstanding issues and retest some of those things. We expect that to go up. From a release regression perspective, so the manual regression is in progress right now on 10.0. We do have, as we talked about, as we're getting near the end of the release, 2 automated runs planned. They're coming up in the next couple of weeks. So that's our execution on the automated side for regression. Those items are coming up, and there's two different suites we have there for DX and SX that we run against from an automated perspective. In terms of 11.0, so I think you've heard, so from a sanity perspective, we're going to continue with the sort of status quo. No changes planned at that point. One of the things we are looking at, we've talked about this, I think it was the last PTG, the fact that right now folks can't really contribute to test. And what we're looking at is we are looking to deploy a new test automation framework so that we can get contribution from outside if people want to, and a framework where execution could happen outside of Wind River as well. Being very specific there, but so we're looking at that. That framework is in the process of being developed right now, and the expectation and the anticipation is we're trying to plan to have that ready for 11.0. So again, that we can have that more community friendly and available to others if they want to contribute. So keep an eye out for that. I'm sure we'll talk about that as we get closer to it in some of the community meetings and things like that. It'll become a topic for discussion. From a feature perspective, you saw a couple of presentations so far where features are kind of still being refined in terms of what the content for 11.0 looks like. Test teams are involved in some of those discussions already. So as those lists get finalized, we'll start getting into the more detailed planning portion of that to get the planning done in terms of the detail we need to support test and verification of the new features coming in 11.0. From a regression perspective, again, no change in the plans from what we did in STX 10.0. So we do have, our manual regression will continue as we're doing in the 10.0 timeframe, and continue to look at automating executing our automation suites as well near the end of the release timeframe to make sure that from an automated perspective, those suites are passing. So again, pretty high level, I think that's pretty much it. I don't know if there are any questions from a test perspective on any of the things we might be doing or what we're looking at. Sounds like no questions. I assume it was clear and crisp.
Yeah. I'm glad to see you're still pursuing the getting the test framework to be more public, because I think that's gonna help us, because I know in the past, I forget what release it was, 8 or 9, that we had some trouble with schedules and stuff like that, and we couldn't get participation from outside of Wind River. So yeah, I think it's good that you're still pursuing that.
Yep, absolutely. I think I agree that we see the value in it, so we are spending time and resources against that activity for sure.
Excellent. Okay, thank you, Rob.
You bet.
Okay, I think we got Juanita with docs.
Thanks, Greg.
Let me just yeah, you have slides, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So for the documentation project, we have Greg Brains as our project lead, and I'm the technical lead, and our team consists of 4 members right now. And we work on all the StarlingX docs for OpenStack and for the cloud. So we have a contributor guide as well that helps newcomers understand the requirements for contributing to docs. To talk about some of the accomplishments we've done in this last quarter is we successfully delivered StarlingX sometime early this year, and all our docs for StarlingX 9.0 is available in the link that's provided. We delivered approximately 32 features for StarlingX 9.0, and right now we are working on 10.0, which is approximately 50 plus features being delivered. Then we've done some enhancements in the StarlingX docs for better end user experience, basically regression testing, some of the outputs, changing all the details there, removing duplicate information, doing some formatting and restructuring of topics. We've created a new StarlingX landing page so that it's easily accessible. All the apps are being documented on that landing page, and that'll be delivered for StarlingX 10.0. But however, we have access to the link that I put in on the slides. Then again, we're refreshing ports that are used in StarlingX. We are updating constantly the verified hardware that's being delivered. And we facilitated updates for the REST API references, which are being updated now, and enhancements to the security guide. That's what will be delivered again for 10.0. We increased product verification of docs by the test team. So we have all our test team members who are looking at our docs and signing off on the content that's being updated. And again, we have updated the contributor guide to provide more details as we make new enhancements and improvements. We merged approximately 170 Garrett reviews from April till now that are updated in StarlingX docs available at the link provided, and fixed approximately 100 defects. Some have been logged in the Launchpad tool, and some have not been logged there, but we are tracking it for the updates. Improvements. We use modern tools to help technical reviewers and doc teams publish updates. We're doing continued enhancements to the CLI commands and REST API updates. Continued reorganization of StarlingX doc structure and eliminating duplicate information. Improved experience for new users, which may lead to greater StarlingX adoption. And, we've seen that doc team members are being included in most of the reviews for the last few months. So that is very encouraging, because at least that way we can contribute if there's anything that's not aligning with the docs, the StarlingX docs requirements. And we encourage the community to continue raising LP bug stories and contribute content. And for the roadmap, we are working on 10.0, which is scheduled in November, and the work is almost complete. And the SDX 11 is scheduled, is right now projected for March. And links to the contributor guide is here, as well as the StarlingX docs repeated here again. And a big thank you to everyone from the community who actually contributed to all our docs. That's very encouraging to see that we have participation in doc updates. And we welcome you to join us on our Friday meetings. All the details are available in StarlingX, as well as on the wiki page, as well as in these slides. Does anyone have any questions for me? Yeah. Okay, I'm done. Great. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you. Thank you, Anita. All right. I think we are at build, and I saw some build guys. Scott or Goblet, do you guys?
Yeah, we don't have any slides.
Okay. Can use chat.
It's largely a stabilization release for us right now. Fix bugs in the build system. There's also a lot of moving around of equipment through various lab moves. First, when we left Sengen into Wind River as a host for all our build equipment, and then various moves internal to Wind River as they normalize their geographic footprint. And there's at least 2 more moves expected in the near future.
2 more? In Wind River?
Within Wind River.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Improvements aside from just stabilization, we did release a feature to allow builds using RAM disks. It's giving us rather inconsistent results that we're still studying. So the issue is that some of the packages are extraordinarily large, and if we dedicate too many build instances to Ramdis that are of insufficient size, we wind up serializing the really big jobs, and you can actually hurt your build performance. So it takes a bit of tuning and expertise, and we're trying to figure out how to create heuristics so it just kind of does the right thing, rather than forcing the users to really get into the nitty-gritty of why is my build slow down rather than sped up. But it can definitely beat NVMe by at least 10%. And if you're on spinning media, it has the potential for quite a big improvement. The next major area is to work on the logic for coming up with a build order. Right now, it really doesn't take into consideration like the critical path, the longest chain of dependencies. So I want to work on that next. Because what we are observing right now is that we get into a phase where there's a lot of serialized building. The other part of build job scheduling is that the way that we deal with dependency loops right now also serializes the build. And so we want to get away from that. I have some ideas, but the plans are still a little vague yet. What else? ARM has not come to pass. The donated build servers were locked down in some fashion, and we struggled with it for a couple of months trying to figure out how to break into it, back and forth with the equipment provider. But now we're looking to get replacement hardware.
Hey, the other work that I thought we did in STX 10 was I thought we did a bit of improvement on the build docs.
Oh, yes, that's true.
Okay. And that was both for building ISOs and I think building patches. I can't remember. Building ISO for sure. Yeah.
Can you think of anything I've missed, Davlet?
No, I think that covers it.
Okay, and you guys still hold your weekly or bi-weekly meetings?
We resumed 3 to 4 months ago, and really we haven't had any uptake. It's just the build guys talking to each other.
Okay.
So it's good to do it in public, but it's a little lonely.
Okay, but they people can still reach you on StarlingX Discuss and
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions for the build guys? Yeah, I think Scott. Gata. Do you have a quick update on the release?
Yes, I do, Greg. Let me share in a second here. All right, can everybody see the slide coming?
Yep, I can see it.
Okay. All right, so again, this is just the goal of the release of project team. I am the PL. The focus is to plan, coordinate release content, and schedule across the various project teams, advise on project processes and best practices as needed. We have a set of contributors, sort of a core key team that represents release, TSC, build, test and sanity, docs, and then we have participation from project leads and feature times. We meet bi-weekly on Wednesdays at 9:30 Eastern, just before the community meeting. The meetings are public. Our Etherpad is there. Google Sheets where we keep the planning, wikis on the releases, and the milestones are also available here if anybody is interested. It's all there. Team is fairly stable. There hasn't been any major changes in terms of participation since the spring PTG. I'll go to the next slide, which is basically the status of STX 10. So STX 10 is currently in progress. All features are actually code complete, and feature testing and release regression are in progress. We have a planning spreadsheet that we track. I just flip to that quickly. If anybody, sorry, this is the 11 one. If anybody hasn't seen it before, it's, you know, you could see all our milestone dates, what the initial plans were and what the forecasts are. You can see the feature candidates on this list here. Sorry, I just have to go up. It shows you basically, I mean, at this stage, we are just about, maybe about a month from the release milestone. So the focus are on the obviously features that have been active and, you know, in progress. So it's kind of, you can get the list here. You can see all the milestones. You can see what status they're in. And we pretty much as a team, we count on you know, the project leads and the primes to keep this updated. I mean, I mean, the release team can't do it in isolation. So you'll see a lot of the features have already been been complete. A few are test in progress and wrapping up in the next couple of weeks here. So anyway, so going back to this, our just biggest next milestones is feature complete, which is the end of the month, and regression complete, coinciding with that. In the first week of November, we plan to create the release branch, do the final regression, and then hopefully everything looks good, declare the release at the end of November. So if I go back here, so that I didn't include all, I just included the big milestones here. So the big one being the branch creation for RC1, which is, as I kind of pointed out, dependent on the feature and release regression wrapping up. That's November 6th, and the release date is November 27th. Number of features in this release are about 43. Again, that's just the straight count from the planning spreadsheet. And just, I did a quick query on the number of fixed launch pads. So basically, these are launch pads that are marked as fixed release and have the STX 10 release tag on them. They're about 502 in various areas. What I have here is a summary of basically the highlights of the release. Since each project team has already presented, I don't think there's a need for me to go through this and again, but it is here if anybody's just interested in seeing a snapshot of what is what the content is in one spot. Any questions on STX 10? So again, I think the next couple of weeks are going to be critical for us to finish. And since we have all the PLs here, or a good number of them, I ask you to please make sure you keep these updates up to date here, so that we're all looking at the same thing and we can all gauge together, you know, the milestone declarations and basically next steps or reforecasts if required. Any questions on 10.0? Back here. Okay. All right. I put together a new planning spreadsheet for STX 11. I don't expect the planning to start in earnest until after the delivery of 10. I recognize that, of course, teams are just busy fixing and finishing their last work items for the current release. So what I did here is, and I think maybe it's better if I show it on the spreadsheet, is basically, you know, with the SDX10 finishing sort of near the end of November, having December is high. There's lots of holidays for year end and Christmas and such, and a lot of team members are usually taking annual holidays. So I basically made a rough plan, and it's just at this point, it's only a skeleton based on durations we've used in our previous releases. And usually we would adjust this when we have better bottom-up plans from the different sub-project teams and the features they're proposing. But anyway, I said milestone 1 would be around the end of January. This basically allows everybody to maybe get some head start in December if any team members are around, and then have all of January to kind of think through what is their feature content and the stuff they want to tackle for SDX 11. And based on that, I just use the formulas that we have before for the different milestones. And basically, we're about the 6 months. We try to be somewhere, we've been somewhere between 6 and 9 months duration for a release. So if I just use the 6 months duration, that would just get us to just before the summer. Again, I think we're going to use this as a guideline early in January to kind of work through our plans. So I encourage all the PLs to kind of start, you know, maybe use this time frame as a starting point. If there is something, you know, that's a bit longer that you want to make sure we fit in, we can also talk about increasing the timeline a bit. If there's a high value feature we want to make sure we can get in. We have these discussions usually in the release meetings, and I kind of always encourage as much participation as possible. I have the release tab already, and I've kind of populated with Steve a couple of, I mean, I don't have the full list here because I think the PTP work is still being refined and discussed, and some of the security items as well. I've populated, but basically we have different domains. If you have a domain that is not represented, just like add a bit. And I see Talis right here. You've included a lot of what you're planning as well, so that is excellent. Thank you so much. I encourage others, Michelle and Jim and Linda, whoever, if you're looking at stuff for 11.0, you can start populating here. I think that's pretty much all I had, Greg. So I didn't write any highlights. Obviously, it's just too early. And in terms of just the planning spreadsheet, okay, so yesterday there were 6, so now we have more. So that's encouraging. And I think pretty much that's it.
Yeah, this looks good. Like you were saying, encourage everybody to, you know, even just the stuff that they're thinking that they presented today, thinking of doing for SDX 11, to kind of put it here as pending at least and investigate.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you know, we usually have this final disposition column here. So, you know, it's possible that you would have something and then, you know, the resourcing doesn't work out, or there are technical challenges or whatever it is. You can, you know, you could be entertaining something and decide a bit later on that it's out. I mean, that has happened here as well. I mean, there were some items, at least a few, at least one here from Intel that was proposed, and it just never, you know, it didn't get off the ground. So yeah. So I think having the ideas and the content will give us, will give the release team a bit of a guideline as to, okay, does this timeline even make any sense based on the content or not? And that's the discussion we want to have in the next couple of months, really. Okay, and with that, are there any questions at all? Otherwise, I can stop sharing.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Gala.
No problem.
Okay, we're gonna loop back to Linda, and then Chris is actually available to talk after that for containers. So Linda, you got some slides. I will stop sharing. So this is on the distro OS type topics.
Yeah. So let me move it to here. Yeah, so for the OS distro multi-OS working group, we're going to cover a little bit about the kernel rebase, nothing really new in that space. OS still based on Bookworm. We'll talk a little bit about Arch support. So the Q3 update, Q2, Q3 updates, kernel rebase currently in StarlingX, we did a minor update to 6.6.52. So that's currently what's in StarlingX. There are a couple build issues that was resolved in the process in the last quarter or so. I think we were talking about this before last time. But the OS rebase, we currently still stay on Debian 12. And I would defer to the team whether or not that gets pushed up to the newer version or not. The ARM architecture support, it's slowly making progress. The hardware one, 6 servers are sent to Wind River from ARM. Initial 2 went to Ottawa. I think we mentioned that last time. 4 was installing Alameda. Due to some lab shuffling, the 2 in Alameda got sent back to. So currently there are 6 servers in Alameda. But so 4 of them is already up and running. 2 of them remain to have a hard firmware access issue, because firmware password is not set correctly. So now we're waiting for IT to send them back to ARM for a swap. I think that might be the quickest way, just to get the server back in. So we're in the process of preparing for that. And in this case, I think the goal is when they get swapped back, the 2 of them will still go to Ottawa. So we'll keep 4 in Alameda and 2 in Ottawa. And I should probably just say the new 2 servers will get shipped to Ottawa. Okay. Then continue on the ARM architecture support. The software porting is in progress, is very, very slow. Remaining 33 patches still outstanding for under review. Not much progress is being made on the code review on this. Now that probably the branch is a little stale, but still we need to continue push for people to review them. Package build, they're still pushing package still needs to be pushed into Syngent, and still in progress, and most would still need help from the community. So Jackie has reached out to ARM to see whether or not they can extend their support, but I think they are also busy on other things as well. So we'll continue pushing to see if we can get more support to finishing up this ARM support. Okay, and that's pretty much on the OS distro side.
All right. And is there, I might have missed it, Linda, but what's the plans to up version to a new release of Debian?
I don't know if I thought that supposedly we are supposed to, but I think currently, I think there might be we may actually have to create a new branch for it. So I need to talk to you, Chris, and Matt to figure out what the plan is.
Okay. I thought I tentatively heard that we were not going to move to, what is it, Bookworm, or can't remember the next one. But we weren't going to do that potentially until STX 12. I can't remember.
Okay. All right, then that means okay.
So you should still follow up with, yeah, either Chris, Bob, or Matt, or the guys.
Okay. And
Linda, sorry, question, Scott here. I was just wondering, are the 2 that were locked down and we couldn't access them that were scheduled to be given to build, are they fundamentally different in their properties, their statistics, versus the 4 that you do have up and running? Because I wonder if one of those could be donated to build. And maybe we can make some progress that way.
The two are supposed to be, the two that's supposed to use for builds are the ones that are actually having firmware issues, I believe.
Yes, I know.
Okay.
But I guess the question is, would it be feasible to release one of the other 4 to build if they have suitable characteristics?
Oh, I wonder, they should already be set up for AIO simplex. That's a good question. Maybe we should track it down where they're actually, what's the current status is. They should be released then, yeah. Let me see if I
Just a
can,
thought. I'm just not sure if they're the same machine or if they're even suitable.
so you want to take 2 of them so out of the 4, you want to take 2 to just set up for build, right?
Or even just one. It's like
Yeah.
just to have something to work with.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah. Yep. Okay. All right. Let's track it down. I'll track it down and see if we can get some movement going. Yeah.
And this is a topic we track on our weekly community meetings. So yeah, we can keep an eye on that.
Okay.
Any other questions for Linda? Okay. Last one I think is Chris, just joined recently, and said he doesn't have slides, but he can chat for 5 minutes about what container project has done in the last release and what's planned for STX 11.
1 second here. Okay. I will actually share. Can I share?
Absolutely.
All right. I just put something together just to give us something to talk to here. Okay. There. Can everybody see?
I can see.
All right. So if we go, okay, StarlingX, basically on container side of things, we upgraded a couple of new versions of Kubernetes along with some of the underlying packages that they make use of, such as Golang. So this is essentially just basic housekeeping work so that we can stay on track with the upstream Kubernetes upgrades. We also upgraded FluxCD and Helm. We also upgraded KubeVirt, which is, if anybody's not aware, it's a mechanism to allow running virtual machines using libvirt, but managed by Kubernetes. So these are essentially lights on work that needs to get done all of the time. For new functionality in StarlingX 10, we've added support for the Kubernetes NUMA Aware Memory Manager, which is a new feature from upstream. And we also have recently done some performance optimizations to reduce the worst case latency for the software that's running on platform cores. So this would include, for example, the Kubernetes API and the Kubernetes control plane. And so the idea here is to try and make sure that the response time for Kubernetes API calls doesn't spike excessively when the platform cores are under load. So this work is still in progress, so I expect it'll continue into StarlingX 11 just as we continue to make more incremental improvements for the platform side of things. So looking forward to StarlingX 11, we're expecting to bring in new versions of Kubernetes. Again, just to keep track with what's going on upstream for the Kubernetes development. And this will probably have add-on implications around things like Containerd and runc and Golang versions. So it's the usual issues to make sure that we can bring in all of the dependencies for these. In terms of new functionality that we're looking at, we're trying to streamline some of the upgrades. And so we want to do some optimizations around Kubernetes upgrades in 2 ways. First of all, we want to be able to skip some of the kubelet upgrades. Upstream Kubernetes allows the version of kubelet to be up to 3 versions older than the Kubernetes control plane. And so we can make use of this to allow us to upgrade the control plane, but leave kubelet where it is. And this is useful because right now it's the upgrade of kubelet that causes a disruption to the application. So we can upgrade the control plane while the application is still running, and it causes a brief outage of the Kubernetes API, but it's not very significant, and it does not cause an outage of the application itself. So we'll be able to upgrade kubelet by 3 versions before we have to upgrade. Sorry, we'll be able to upgrade the control plane by 3 versions before we have to upgrade kubelet. And so we want to take advantage of that. The second thing is that we want to avoid a host lock and unlock, which triggers a reboot during the kubelet upgrade. Already for the AIO SX case, we can handle doing a cordon and uncordon step. So this shuts down the application briefly, but it doesn't reboot the host. So we want to be able to extend that to multi-node systems. And so that will save us multiple minutes per system, or per host rather, by avoiding that reboot. And so this will, on each node when we upgrade kubelet, we'll have to stop the application, but we won't have to actually reboot the system. And so the idea here is just to allow us to complete the Kubernetes upgrade quicker. So that's basically it from the container side of things. Anybody have any questions?
Is there any hope of reducing the number of copies of Kubernetes we have to compile and maintain?
So that's not really up to us. Kubernetes upstream is doing 3 versions a year. They don't show any signs of stopping. And so depending on how much time we have in between releases, that will determine how many versions of Kubernetes we have to deal with. So Kubernetes upstream still does not allow skipping versions for the control plane upgrade. And so we don't have any way around that.
Or actually Golang, I think is the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, so again, the Golang versions are triggered because the Kubernetes has specific dependencies on specific Golang versions. So as we generally tie our version of Golang to the version of Golang that was used upstream.
So we really do need to build 4 versions of Golang.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Okay.
So there might be a possibility if we were to use a newer version of Golang to build Kubernetes than was used upstream, we might be able to use one version of Golang for 2 versions of Kubernetes or something like that. But it would mean experimenting with something that wasn't tested upstream. So it would mean extra work for us.
Golang is a significant build.
It's one of the bigger guys.
Yeah, and currently we're building like 5 versions of it. So
yeah,
So
basically.
isn't part of the solution there, and there's an existing proposal that hasn't been really discussed broadly, but we only have to build something like that once, and everyone else should just be able to inherit the build artifacts. And it's something we need to work on for the future.
Yes. It's also in our build roadmap. So slightly more aggressive feature than build
Yeah, if we
order
only had to
optimization.
build each Golang once, then and we had a way to share the artifacts of that, then wouldn't be a problem. And that's the right solution, I think, in general.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Chris or Bruce container project? Okay, thanks, Chris. Chris, can you?
Greg, did we want to talk about forward-looking stuff here, or we just backward-looking?
I'll copy the slides to the folder there.
I think we did. Yeah, I think Chris did have a slide on STX 11. Is that right?
I did.
I missed it. Sorry. Bad.
Okay. Yeah, if you can copy your slides to this Google folder, that'd be Thank you. And I think Scott Camp is still not here. Okay. Thank you. Thanks everybody who provided an update on their project. That was a big agenda item to get through today. The last item I wanted to spend like 5 minutes on was, are there topics that we want to talk about tomorrow? Because like I said, I didn't get any agenda items from StarlingX Discuss previously, so we just had this main one project update agenda item, which is always a good one because we get a view as to what everybody's working on. But are there other topics that we need to talk about tomorrow?
It came up, I think, since the last PTG, like there were some challenges with getting new core reviewers, and there was also a challenge in the release team with like getting enough input from PLs and project teams. Is that something that we want to discuss?
This is like, oh, kind of the more core reviewers.
I mean,
is that
I
something?
think Bruce brought up the topic originally some time ago.
Yeah, I remember that. I think it was bundled in with the whole Garrett review issues with that we did modify a bit, and I think buried in that was the need to develop more core reviewers. And then sorry, I missed the other one you mentioned about input on from PLs and TLs on.
It's the communication challenge that I think the release team was experiencing with at one point not getting sufficient input from the project teams. I don't know if it's still a problem or if it's something that you all want to discuss. I'm just brainstorming ideas here.
If you're interested in chatting about that, either of these topics.
I mean, for the second one, I don't know. I don't know what to say other than a plea to the PLs and TLs, but
Yeah.
I think a lot of the release information, and again, I mean, we have good representation here. Maybe people can chime in. I think the information is readily available. What we look for is understood. It's shared regularly. Also, like release topics in the community call, even for those who don't attend. So I'd be interested in hearing what people consider to be barriers to providing that info. I think it is worth a discussion. Again, not trying to put anybody on the spot here, but I personally am not sure what the barriers are for the second point. So I mean, I need PLs to tell us. We need them to tell us what the barrier is.
Okay, and for the first topic, it sounds like it would be worthwhile to brainstorm a bit on how we develop more core reviewers. Any other topics for tomorrow? We can review this again tomorrow morning. I think we'll get together at the same time tomorrow morning, and we can brainstorm a bit on the agenda and have, at least 15-20 minute discussion on these two items.
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
Sounds good.
Okay. Thanks everybody for participating in the review. Thanks to the PLs and TLs for presenting that stuff and putting their slides up on the Google directory. So let's get again tomorrow, same time.
Great. Thanks, Greg.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Greg. Thank you all. Have a good day.
Thank you.
you.